On a late summer night in Columbus, Mississippi in 1992, the body of 84-year-old Georgia Kemp was discovered in her home. She had been brutally assaulted and murdered. The crime shocked the small community, where Kemp was known as a quiet, church-going woman who lived alone. The scene was chaotic, with little physical evidence left behind. But what happened next would raise troubling questions about justice and science for years to come. Police had no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon, and no DNA linking any specific individual to the scene. Despite this, suspicion quickly focused on Eddie Lee Howard Jr., a local black man with a prior conviction for sexual assault. Police arrested him based on a hunch, and the state sought to build a case using the most controversial evidence available at the time: bite mark analysis. The prosecution called on forensic dentist Dr. Michael West, who claimed he had found bite marks on Georgia Kemp's body, and that they matched Howard's dental impressions. There was no other physical evidence tying Howard to the crime. He denied knowing Kemp and maintained he had nothing to do with her death. Nevertheless, the bite mark testimony was enough for the jury. In 1994, Eddie Lee Howard was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. Howard spent years on death row in solitary confinement, living in a 6-by-9-foot cell with no access to fresh air or regular human contact. He filed numerous appeals, all of which were denied. Meanwhile, concerns about bite mark evidence began to surface across the country. The National Academy of Sciences criticized it as unreliable. In case after case, individuals who had been convicted using bite mark analysis were being exonerated as DNA testing proved their innocence. Howard's legal team with the Innocence Project pushed for a new review of the evidence. In 2016, they secured permission to have the bite mark testimony re-evaluated and the DNA from the crime scene tested with more advanced methods. The results were stunning. DNA found on the murder weapon and other items at the scene excluded Howard as a contributor. Even more significant, Dr. West himself recanted his testimony. He stated he could no longer support his original conclusions, admitting that bite mark analysis was not a scientifically valid method. With this new evidence, the Mississippi Supreme Court overturned Howard's conviction in 2020. The court wrote that the forensic evidence used to convict him was no longer credible, and that there was a reasonable probability the jury would have acquitted him had they known what is now known. On January 8, 2021, Eddie Lee Howard was formally exonerated after spending nearly 3 decades behind bars for a crime he did not commit. He was 67 years old when he walked out of prison. His case became one of the most disturbing examples of wrongful conviction through junk science in American legal history. As for the real killer of Georgia Kemp, that person has never been identified. The DNA evidence does not match anyone currently in the national database. Her family has expressed sorrow not only for their own loss, but also for the injustice suffered by Howard. They hope the renewed attention might someday lead to the real perpetrator being brought to justice. Howard's story raises critical questions about the use of unproven forensic methods in courtrooms and the devastating consequences of relying on flawed science. It is also a sobering reminder of how easily the justice system can fail, particularly when the accused lacks resources and support.